Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. I was asked a question how long before I would use my liquid culture. Well, what I did first was I had to make a sponge culture, and which I did. I made my sponge culture. Then I took half of that sponge culture and put it in a different jar. I have two jars. I actually have one that was sponge and one that is liquid. Now, let me read what I have on this, and this should help you. When you go to feed your sponge culture, it's going to be a different ratio. For the liquid culture, it's 2 ounces of water and 1.5 ounces of flour. So what you do is you take half of your sponge culture, put it in a different jar, and what you do is you add that ratio to it and feed it every day for 7 days. That's what I did, and then I started using my liquid culture. I made sure that I had brought it to that liquid culture. That's why I gave it a 7-day feeding every day of 2 ounces of water and 1.5 ounces of flour. Then that way it was easier, and I knew it was at the state that it had to be. Now, if you add more water than this, you can end up killing it because it's too thin. So you really have to be careful when you're handling your cultures, your liquid culture. So when it says 2 ounces of water, it means 2 ounces of water, not 2.5 or 2.1 ounces. It means exactly 2 ounces of water and 1.5 ounces of bread flour. And it has to be bread flour. If you feed it every day, those ratios, you will keep it alive for indefinite. Now, on the sponge culture, because you have to use the sponge culture to get to this liquid culture. Now the sponge culture is fed a little differently. You'll hear the ratios. I'm going to read them out. Now on a sponge culture that I feed every day, it's 1/4 cup flour and 3 tablespoons of water. So you can see the difference in their liquid ratios with their flour, with their bread flour. And this one is used for some bread recipes that I have. So this is why I have the sponge culture, and I have recipes for my liquid culture. Now I've already been able to transfer a regular bread recipe in with my liquid culture. Right now I am trying to do one with my sponge culture and see how it's going to come out. And I'm actually making russet French loaves. Fingers crossed, you'll see the end result if it works. So understand that don't assume that all your bread recipes are going to use liquid culture, because it also depends upon how much liquid culture you put in for its 2 12-hour rises. Remember, when you do make it, you have to feed it a certain ratio of liquid to flour for 2 12-hour rises. You feed it, wait 12 hours, feed it again. This is why at the beginning of the recipes, if I'm making a sourdough, I'll give you the ratios to feed your your yeast on those 2 12 hours before we make it. The same thing goes with the sponge culture. All right, so I hope this helps with the young lady that asked, but I always, when I started this, I fed it for 7 days after I had gotten my sponge culture up, and I took it and moved it into this jar. I did feed it this ratio for 7 days before I even started using this, because I wanted to make sure it was at that state that it has to be a liquid culture. So take care. Bye-bye.